what we always fear about politicians is that they're not telling us something. They're just not to be trusted.
Yes.
Spin. What does spin mean? It means like there are people in this world who, when you talk to them, like when I talk to you, I know I'm getting the complete unvarnished truth.
Right.
And then there are people in this world who, when you talk to them, you never feel that.
Right.
You can't put your finger on it maybe, but you just feel something is being elided, or it's being exaggerated, or it's being spun. But
is Bill Maher, the liberal comedian, suddenly making sense to conservatives? We're diving into his recent takedown of a woke idiot attacking Trump, and why this moment reveals a major shift in the political landscape. Forget your preconceived notions. This isn't about agreeing with Maher on everything, but recognizing a crucial truth he just laid bare.
I don't.
But can you be in the same room with the enemy? I mean, I can. I pride myself on, don't fucking tell me who I can hang out with.
Right.
You know, if I want to take Ann Coulter to the opera, I will, you asshole.
Yeah.
And I think we need more of that, not less of that. But you just don't see that. You know, that the Kennedy Center, which I'm sure is close to where you live.
Right.
Okay. I get how awful it is what Trump is doing to it, because it is an art center. But you know what? I know where that comes from. Now, maybe I'm wrong about this, because I'm only getting it from watching the TV show, which I've watched every year.
Yeah.
Where they give away 5 Kennedy Center honors to great people of the arts. And it's always a big movie star and somebody else you know, and then an opera singer and some dancer. And, you know, like culture vultures know, but I don't. So you skip through those, and then you get to, and this year it was the Grateful Dead and Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see, again, maybe I'm wrong, but watching it, I did not see one face on that screen, either in the audience, and there are a lot of audience shots where you see, you know, and of course it's a very uptight audience. I would hate to have to, like, you know, there's always that announcer, and, you know, here to present, you know, and please welcome Morgan Freeman. And then, you know, he comes out and they do a tribute. It's very polite, and you really wouldn't want to be edgy. I would be like the totally wrong person to be in this room under any capacity, and I'm sure I never will. Okay, but like I did not see one face, either on the stage or in the audience shots, that looked like they might have voted for Trump. And I just thought, you know, invite Ted Cruz. Would it kill you? Don't you think he likes The Godfather too?
Right.
Don't you think somebody in the Senate is a Grateful Dead fan?
Right.
Are the tides turning against the endless outrage machine? All right, Bill Maher. Yes, that Bill Maher and his recent stand against some of the more, shall we say, overzealous elements of the progressive movement. Now, as a conservative Republican, you might think I'd be at odds with a guy like Maher on a whole host of issues. And you'd be right, we probably disagree on plenty. But every now and then, you see someone on the other side of the aisle say something that just resonates, something that cuts through the noise and speaks a fundamental truth. And that's what I've been seeing with Bill Maher lately, particularly in the clip we're going to break down today. What struck me in this discussion was Maher's absolute shutdown of this guest who was trying to take cheap shots at Donald Trump. Look, I don't need to rehash the laundry list of criticisms against Trump. You can find that on pretty much any mainstream media outlet. But what Maher did was cut through the predictable knee-jerk reactions and point out something crucial. People are tired of the constant, often petty, attacks that lack any real substance. From a conservative standpoint, this resonates deeply.
Just lost an election.
Right.
Maybe now's the time to reach out a little. I didn't vote for them either. But would that kill? So I get it a little bit when they get into office and they go, you know what? Assholes who stuffed our heads in the locker.
Right.
Here's what you get now.
Yeah. But this is what is so crazy about watching Trump, because he's got these two sides. So one side is kind of scary because it's authoritarian. He and Elon are trying to undermine the judiciary and Congress. You know, Congress is in charge of these agencies, not these Doge kids. And the press, Elon keeps saying that the people on X are the press now and legacy press is dead. So in a way, like Dick Cheney, they're messing with checks and balances. But on the other hand, Trump still has that wacky, kind of funny side where he goes down and takes over the Kennedy Center. And now he wants to give the awards to dead people. He wants to give the awards to Elvis, Babe Ruth, and Pavarotti. And then he goes down, he starts making this speech about how he thinks they should do Cats, which was also George W. Bush's favorite play.
Really?
Yes. And so he
thinks, the movie is like a joke of all time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Trump says at first he didn't get it, but then he began to look at the beautiful bodies of the men and women in gold tights, and he got mesmerized. He's giving this like kind of semi-homoerotic. Then he did say, well, I like the women better. But then he's got that wacky side. So he's redecorating the Oval Office and making it like Mar-a-Lago. He hasn't brought up the gold. He has a gold thing with him on Mount Rushmore. But he has like a gold TV. Wait, let me tell you, a gold TV remote. And he put gold leaf around the famous mantelpiece in the Oval Office that you know from TV. And he wants to hang a chandelier, and they're trying to talk him out of it, and he won't be talked out of it. He wants to make it like Mar-a-Lago. And, I think that you see it actually, I think in the SNL impersonation, that wacky humorous side is what makes people less afraid of the authoritarian side.
It is so human.
Yeah.
And not only less afraid, but less afraid, because what we always fear about politicians is that they're not telling us something. They're just not to be trusted.
Yes.
Spin. What does spin mean? It means like there are people in this world who, when you talk to them, like when I talk to you, I know I'm getting the complete unvarnished truth.
Right.
And then there are people in this world who, when you talk to them, you never feel that.
Right.
You can't put your finger on it maybe, but you just feel something is being elided, or it's being exaggerated, or it's being spun. But
we've seen this playbook for years. Instead of engaging on policy, instead of debating ideas, the go-to strategy for some has become to find the smallest perceived slight, the most minor misstep, and blow it out of proportion. It's not about genuine disagreement. It's about creating outrage and trying to silence dissenting voices. And frankly, it's exhausting for everyone, regardless of their political affiliation. What Maher seems to be tapping into is this growing weariness with what some might call woke excess. Now, let's be clear, caring about social justice, wanting a more equitable society, these are not inherently bad things. But when that desire morphs into an endless cycle of finding offense, of policing language to an absurd degree, and of creating an environment where people are afraid to speak their minds for fear of being instantly labeled and ostracized, then we've got a problem. As conservatives, we've been saying this for a while. We believe in robust debate, in the clash of ideas. We think that open and honest conversation, even when it's uncomfortable, is essential for a healthy society. What this woke mentality often fosters is the opposite, a chilling effect on free expression, where nuance is lost and everything becomes black and white, good versus evil. Maher's frustration with the predictable attacks on Trump and his seeming defense of Trump's, let's call it unconventional style, points to a deeper issue. People, even those who vehemently disagree with Trump's policies or his personality, appreciate a sense of authenticity. They might not like what he says, but they often feel like they're getting a raw, unfiltered version of his thoughts. In a world of carefully crafted political messaging and endless spin that can be a refreshing, albeit sometimes jarring change. Think about it. How many times have we listened to a politician speak and felt like they're not really saying anything? That they're just reading from a script of pre-approved talking points? That's the spin Maher talks about. That feeling that you're not getting the complete truth. And I think what Maher is recognizing, and what many on the left are starting to see, is that this constant attempt to control the narrative, to never say anything that might offend the most vocal minority, ultimately breeds distrust. Now, this doesn't mean I endorse everything Trump says or does, far from it, but I can understand why some people are drawn to his willingness to break. from the traditional political mode to say things that others wouldn't dare, even if it's sometimes crude or controversial. It stands in stark contrast to the perceived inauthenticity of politicians who seem to constantly pander and shift their positions based on the prevailing winds. The example of Gavin Newsom backtracking on his previous stances is a perfect illustration of this. People can sense when someone is being disingenuous, when they're simply trying to chase popularity rather than standing on principle, and that ultimately erodes trust.
The guy who, I mean, as he sees the truth, it isn't often.
Well, it's a mix of lies and truth.
It's his impression of the truth. If he doesn't like Zelensky, his approval rating is 4%, but it's really 57. Okay.
Right.
But, impressionistically, poetically, it's 4%.
Right.
And his fans accept that. But not just that. It's like, can we trust this guy? Well, he just voices his interior monologue.
Yeah.
The thing that we all edit. No one just says what's in their head except him.
Yeah.
So you could, like, if he is thinking homoerotically about...
Just says it. Tights.
Or Arnold Palmer's cock, that'll dominate the news for a week.
One. Well, it's interesting because, I have my sister, Peggy, on book tour with me, and she's a Trump voter and a Republican. And
all the brothers, right?
Yes, but it's interesting to see things from her point of view. But even she kind of rolls her eyes and says she wishes he wouldn't keep saying he won the election. She doesn't want him to sell gold sneakers and tacky things when he's president. So, there are a few things she's objecting to.
You got to put up with a lot. And they do.
Yeah.
They're like, that celebrity spouse who always has to act humble on the red carpet.
Right.
She puts up with me. Shut up. You're George Clooney. It's fine. I'm sure she's fine.
What's particularly interesting is Maher highlighting his enjoyment of doing shows in red areas, precisely because there's less of this constant fear of offense, less walking on eggshells. He finds the conversations more open and honest. That should be a wake-up call for anyone who values genuine dialogue. When one side of the political spectrum becomes so hypersensitive that it stifles free expression, it creates an echo chamber and pushes those seeking real conversation elsewhere. From a conservative perspective, we believe in the power of individual thought and the importance of respectful disagreement. We don't need everyone to agree with us, but we do expect a fair hearing and the ability to express our views without being instantly demonized. What Maher is pointing out is that this is becoming increasingly difficult in certain progressive circles. Now, let's talk about this idea of Trump not conceding the 2020 election. Maher's guests seem fixated on this, and frankly, it's a bit of a broken record. As the clip itself points out, the man left office. There was a transfer of power. While I understand the concerns around the rhetoric, the constant rehashing of this issue, as the clip suggests, often feels like a way to avoid engaging with more pressing current issues. From a conservative viewpoint, we'd rather focus on the future, on policies that will grow the economy, secure our borders, and strengthen our national security. Getting stuck in endless debates about the past, especially when the outcome is clear, doesn't serve anyone. It just gives the other side ammunition for endless, often unproductive arguments. Ultimately, what I take away from this Bill Maher clip is a sign that some on the left are starting to recognize the dangers of their own extremes. They're seeing how the constant outrage and the stifling of dissenting opinions are pushing people away and hindering productive conversation. As conservatives, we should welcome these moments of clarity. We should engage with those on the left who are willing to have honest conversations and who are pushing back against the excesses of woke ideology. Because at the end of the day, a healthy society requires open dialogue, mutual respect, and a willingness to listen to different perspectives, even when we strongly disagree. This isn't about suddenly agreeing with Bill Maher on everything. It's about recognizing when someone, regardless of their political leanings, speaks a truth that resonates and that can help move our national conversation in a more productive direction. It's about acknowledging that authenticity and a willingness to speak plainly, even if it's controversial, can be more valuable than carefully crafted, but ultimately hollow political rhetoric. So what do you think? Are you seeing this shift as well? Are more people waking up to the downsides of extreme political correctness? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for tuning in to Black Coffee Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. We'll catch you next time.